evening, everybody. So nice to see everybody, and welcome to the panelists as well, who are going to turn their cameras on and introduce themselves. And we'll start off with Helen, Clare, then Mike, Tim, Sara. Introduce yourself, and Jayne, of course.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Helen Devine-Costa, and I'm the Vice Principal for Post-16.
Hello, good evening. I'm Clare and Vice Principal of Pre-16. Nice to be here this evening.
Hello, my name's Mike Williams. I'm Vice Principal for Assessment and Curriculum Systems.
Hi, I'm Sara, Ellison. I'm Director of Learning for Post-16, working with the students on their study and pastoral needs.
Hi, I'm Tim. I am the Vocational and IBCP Coordinator.
And I'm Jayne. I'm Head of Year 11 and will have the pleasure of moving up into Year 12 with students next year.
Fantastic, and really great to see everybody here this morning. This is the gift of COVID. Sorry, this afternoon. This is the gift of COVID because we know how to run this for you, so you don't have to trek into school. And also as well, we have some resources for you that you can follow up with as well. And it's really important that you are making a really well-informed choice as you move into our post-16 provision. And it's even more important to know that last year, West Island School secured itself in the top 1% of IB schools worldwide for the value added. And what that means is, as a result of the teaching and learning that happens at West Island School, our children make significantly more progress than other children at the same starting point. It's phenomenal. At the same time, if students take a BTEC course or they go for a hybrid model and they have a choice of BTECs or courses from our diploma program and put those together, they can achieve something called the IB Careers Program. So the choice that parents and students have is our main challenge to communicate well to you so that you make really informed choices to suit individual needs. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Helen. We will come back on as a panel at the end to mop up any final questions. Excuse me. And about 10 to 15 minutes into the presentation, Helen will just indicate to you that she's going to finish shortly, and you would then be welcome to put any questions into the Q&A, which is in the box below. But hang on for about the first 10 or 15 minutes because you might find everything gets answered for you. So over to you, Helen.
Thank you. Just going to share my screen. Okay. There we go. All right, so thank you very much for joining us this evening. We did do a presentation back in September, which I know a lot of you will have attended. And if you didn't, I sent out some homework in advance with the letter, which was to kind of watch through that video because it did cover in a lot of detail the different pathways that are on offer. So we're going to do some of that again this evening. We're also going to try and cover some of the other areas that came up since that very first webinar that we did. But I wanted to start with the IB Learner Profile. If you caught the opening video there, you would have seen that it was based around the Learner Profile. And isn't it fantastic to see all of those CAS activities, all those sports activities that now we're able to start doing again. And actually, some of these elements of the Learner Profile are really important tonight, and they're really important in the options choice process, particularly being open-minded. So really standing back and thinking about the value of all of the different pathways, being balanced in your choices. So again, kind of trying to keep a really good perspective about what my strengths are, what my challenges are, and then where that might best fit in terms of subjects or pathway choice. And also being knowledgeable and in being an inquirer, because actually there might be some information that you need to find out. There might be some digging around in terms of potential university interests you might want to do. And that does take a little bit of time and a little bit of effort and a bit of inquiry. So it's a really good slide to start with because this profile really does underpin the whole process. So far, we have had the webinar in September. and you were introduced to the Post-16 options website. I know a lot of the students have spent time on this because they have had meetings with their HE counsellor one-to-one in the last few weeks. If your son or daughter hasn't had it yet, then they'll be having it this week. And the students have been really talking quite knowledgeably about the different pathways. So it's really clear that they've been using that website, which is great. They've also been exposed to some taster sessions if they've wanted to go along and find out more about some of the new subjects that would come up at Post-16. And they've had conversations in one-to-one with their tutors. So they've already got a good understanding of what is on offer, and hopefully are starting to think about where they fit and where their kind of passions fit in all of that process. So today, I want to cover, first of all, a little bit about some of the common misconceptions that we get, or this lovely term that we now use thanks to Mr. Trump, the fake news. I'll then talk through some university information just to kind of try and put it in a little bit of context beyond Post-16, some of the things you might want to be thinking about, and also a little bit on the equivalence of the different pathways in terms of university admission, because I know we often get questions on that. We'll then talk you through, Sara and Tim will then talk you through the different pathways again, just to refresh your mind about what is on offer. And we'll give you some of our top tips from our staff about how to choose. And then we'll do a little bit on just how to enter the choices. So quite often we will get asked questions like these ones, one qualification is better than another, IBDP is better than CP, right? Or IB is better than BTEC. That's just not true. The best qualification is the one that is right for your son or daughter, the one that fits their learning style, that fits their interests, and that fits their passions. One is not easier than the other. For some students, sitting an exam feels quite easy. They work well under pressure, they have the ability to retain information and use it in an exam room setting, and that feels great to them. For others, that is the worst thing in the world. For some students, they do not like project-based work. They don't like long pieces of coursework. Organisation, time management isn't their skill set. But for other students, that is what they love to do. They love to delve into a project and really, really embrace it. So you've got to be thinking about learning styles, not whether one qualification is better or more recognised, because universities do accept all the qualifications and all the pathways that we offer. And again, another question we quite often get told is, well, it's okay because they might not be ideally suited for this, but they'll just work really hard, or I'll get them a tutor, or they'll work longer. And the question I would say to you is, well, is that really what you want to be doing for the 2 years? Do you want to be under so much pressure and feeling like this is an absolute chore, when if you'd have picked a different subject, if you'd have picked a different pathway, you could have been really enjoying your learning? So it's really, really important to think about the individual student and the individual student's strengths and challenges as you're going through this process of options choice. As parents, sometimes you will say to me, oh, but they need this for university, or they're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an astronaut, they need this. And sometimes they do. For something like medicine, you need 2 sciences. But very often you do not need something. If you actually look at what the universities require, they are deliberately quite open in what they request, because they are aware that, unlike at West Island, we're super lucky to be able to offer lots and lots of different courses and different variations. Some schools don't have that. So it would be unfair to be insisting that every student had 2 languages or 2 humanities if a school wasn't able to offer it. So universities do have quite an open acceptance policy for most of their subjects. My child is going to be, and we've just talked about this with Year 9, it might be that your child has a passion that they want to be, but you need to make sure it's not what you want them to be. It has to be something that they are working towards for themselves, because when the going gets tough, when the work gets really hard, when the deadlines are coming in, that the student needs to know that they've chosen this because they want to do it. That's the driving force, not because mum or dad think this is a good idea. Subject X is not useful later in life. So sometimes parents will say, well, what's the point of geography, my subject? They're not going to need that later, or they're not going to need French, or they're not going to need something else. And actually, it's about the skills that you're getting. We don't know actually what they'll need later in life. Most young people are going to have 4, 5, 6 different careers. They're not going to be like perhaps our generation, the generation before, where we stayed in one job for life. So actually having a breadth of interest and a breadth of knowledge and a breadth of skills, most important, is really, really useful. And if your son or daughter is interested and passionate about that subject, then they absolutely should take it, because again, as I said, most universities are open to most combinations of things. Please don't pick what your friends do. Please don't pick what your friends' children did, because they are not your children, and your child is different to other people. So please look at the individual. And I hate to tell this message because none of us like hearing it, but it's quite a long time since most of us were at school, and things have definitely changed. So please try and step away from, well, when I was at school, this was really important. It may still be important, but please listen to what your child is saying, listen to what their teachers are saying, and actually base it on what is important today and what your son or daughter wants to do in the future. So in terms of pathways and universities, and we will say this and say it again with great confidence, because this is our absolute lived experience of our students going through all these different pathways. All pathways lead to university. So you can see here, we've got Kimberly, Kai, Emily and Callum from across the last couple of years. 4 different pathways, different combinations of subjects, and every single one of them is happily studying at university and doing really, really well. The sensible decision they made was choosing the pathway and choosing subjects that was right for them. So when they were in your shoes, they really thought about themselves and made sure they set themselves on a good path for the coming 2 years. But of course, you don't have to end up at university. Some of our students want to go straight into work placements. They want some industrial experience or working experience, and maybe might go to university later. So we've got 3 students here who took that option, and one of them went into marine engineering, one of them went into machine learning and data science, and another into designing immersive content for a TV channel. So again, sometimes we fixate on university, but we also need to remember that there are other routes into the workplace. And again, these pathways will take you there. So please, please, please be open-minded when you're listening tonight and when you're actually making your choices. One of the questions we got asked after the last webinar, so I've put this in now, is just about university destinations, and again, is one pathway better for a certain country and one better for another? You can see here we have students that go all over the world. We're slightly skewed towards the UK, so that's just over 40% of our students go there, but a really significant proportion going to Canada, the US, Hong Kong, Australia, and then other countries, mainly other European countries. So a really good smattering, and most of our students will apply to more than one country destination when they apply to university. So they might apply to the UK and the US, they might apply Hong Kong, UK, US. So the pathways cover all the eventualities. Hong Kong is probably the sticking point if you know that you are absolutely only going to stay in Hong Kong, because unfortunately Hong Kong doesn't recognise the BTEC pathways in the same way that those other countrywide destinations do. So if you do know that your son or daughter will stay in Hong Kong, then really the IB diploma is your option to choose, so that you can access those entry requirements for Hong Kong. just a bit of an overview on where students ended up, the sorts of courses they did. So you can see great variety in the sorts of courses our students end up going and studying in the pie chart. And then we've got examples of some of the universities. We picked off some highlight ones, and I will share all these slides with you so you can look through in more detail. But I know it's always a big concern for parents about, well, what about university? What about university? And we've put these here to reassure you that our students literally go to amazing universities all over the world, and universities that are absolutely right for them, offering the courses that are right for them. So these are kind of Hong Kong, Australia, American destinations. Some you'll recognise, some you won't. And the same for the UK, some you'll be very familiar with, but also lots that you may never have even considered. And that's another message. Please don't just stick to the 10 names that I know because that's where my friends' children have gone, or those are the ones that are famous, because there are so many universities out there offering so many courses. And again, if you do your research, you might just find the one that's right for you. And one of the reasons we put this in and started with universities is because quite often people feel like, well, if I do the IBCP or if I do the international diploma, the other BTEC route, I don't know if I'm going to get into university. And you can see here, this is the last 2 years of IBCP graduates. And a whole host of universities. On the left-hand side, those are non-UK destinations, so worldwide destinations, and then on the right, we've got our UK destinations. Again, like with the other pathways, we always get slightly more weighting to the UK, so that's usually slightly more popular. And then worldwide, you can see the IBCP ones as well. Now, the reason I'm kind of just talking about universities is because for some students, they'll come to me and they'll say, oh, well, now I've got to do IBDP and I've got to do chemistry and economics and something else. And sometimes that's true, but actually very often it isn't true. And I'll be saying to them, yeah, but look, your music score is brilliant and you love music and you're in all the bands. Don't you want to carry on with music, for example? And then when we actually look at the university website, we find out a little bit more about what the university does want. So this is Hong Kong U. As I said, that Hong Kong is a lot more IB focused. So it's 35 points. And then it has some stipulations about some of the maths you might need to take and the grades you might need to get. So sometimes it is important to look and just see and get a ballpark of what a university might want when you're picking your post-16 subjects, particularly if you know you want to go into something very specific like medicine or engineering or dentistry. You need to make sure that you're getting the requirements right for that next step. This one is another example. Sorry, my daughter has joined me. This is the University of Exeter. And I put this one up just to show you that actually lots of universities will consider both pathways. So if you want to do business and management at Exeter, you can do IB and you need to get 36 points and 6, 6 and a 6 in your 3 higher levels. Or you can do a BTEC program and you need to get distinctions, 3 distinctions across your BTECs. So that's the same course, 2 different routes into it. So again, when we're saying to you, you know, if you're better at continuous assessment and BTEC suits you, there's no reason why you can't end up on the same university course as someone else that's done the IB diploma. And you've just gone at it a different way. And actually you've had an amazing 2 years getting to university because you've done something you enjoy. And then just on here, this is just to kind of show you the actual equivalents. So all courses, all different types of qualifications will have a tariff point ascribed to it in the left-hand column. So this is the UK system, but it would work similarly in other destinations. And underneath, I just put down, you know, typical IBCP scores. So typical combination that someone doing the IBCP has. And if you look to the right, that would give you 184 university tariff points. A similar subject selection doing the international diploma, and we'll remind you about the difference in a minute, would also give you 184 UCAS points. And then at the bottom, if I can just move my toolbar, if you do A levels and you've got 3 A stars, which some of you might be familiar with a UK background, that's 168 points. And actually it's just nudged it off the bottom, but that's the same as if you got 3 sevens at higher level. It's worth 168 UCAS points. So if you look at the final totals, actually there is real equivalence for these pathways at university. And for your son or daughter, they might actually score better doing one of the BTEC pathways than they would doing the exam-based diploma pathway. So that is something that we really, really wanted you to consider going into this. If you want more information, we do have a careers website, and there's some more information, particularly, especially if you are thinking about things like medicine and dentistry and those sorts of engineering, those very specific pathways. There's some good detailed information on here about what you might need to be considering. Oh,
What happened?
I think I just jumped off my thing. There we go.
You jumped off your thing?
So I'm my daughter is now assisting me with my presentation. Wow. So I'm going to ask Sara to just jump on because she's going to talk you through this next section.
Hey, Helen, I don't know why you're asking Sara. I know Bella could deliver this presentation because she's been with you for the past 3 years. Hello, Bella, how are you? Hey, you've got the whole of West Island there. Thanks, Helen. Sorry, Sara, over to you.
No, I'm really worried my dog's going to start howling now. The joys of kind of speaking from home. Evening, everyone. Now, I know that you've already had a presentation where you've had the 3 pathways that we offer outlined to you in lots of detail. So I'm just going to give you a really, really quick overview of the IBDP tonight, and then Tim is going to take over and talk about the IBCP and the BTEC pathways.
Sorry, you're just gone muted.
So the IBDP has a really sort of fantastic framework where students are suggested to take a subject from 6 areas. This is then complemented by the core, which is TOK, the theory of knowledge, the extended essay, and then the CAS courses that we run. And you'll be familiar with those from having your children in the school already. So again, one of the fantastic things about West Island School, and we hear this again and again from students and parents, is the wide number of subjects that we can offer. So you can see it here. We've got lots of information about it on our website. But again, really think about trying to encourage your children to pick a subject from the 6 sort of different areas. We do have or do like to encourage an arts policy at West Island School. So we would really encourage students to take a subject from the group 6. I'm not going to read it out because you can see it in front of me on the screen, but I think there's lots of evidence for why it's very beneficial for students. And I'm thinking from a practical point of view, all of those group 6 subjects are continually assessed with kind of key bits of coursework. So there's no big linear exam at the end of year 13. So it really does take the pressure off the students when they've got those big year 13 exams. But it also enlivens creativity and gets students to think in lots and lots of different ways. So when you are putting your option choices in, it's quite complicated. It's something very new. Just go over and think about things. So have you picked a subject from each group? If not, if you do have a reason, and I'm going to talk about medicine here as just an example, if you do absolutely know that you are convinced that you would like to take a pathway that might lead in that direction, please do a bit of research, speak to your science teachers about your predicted grades, speak to them about what they think about you in terms of your character and whether you would be suitable for that sort of pathway, and then please pursue that route. There's a little options box at the bottom where you can write a little bit of information. I think it's called the additional notes box. You can write a little bit more information about sort of research that you've done and the pathway that you're interested in taking. So the IB is made up of 3 higher level choices and 3 standard level choices. Now, don't be led by what your friends think. Think about what your strengths are. Make sure that those higher level subjects are something that you are really passionate about, you really enjoy, you've done some research on the course if it's a new subject, and you actually think you're going to have some success there. Because students who really struggle are students that pick subjects that really aren't a match for their strengths. Right, I'm just going to pass over to Tim now.
Thanks, Sara. Hi, everyone. I'm sure we've heard me speak before, so I won't give you my introduction about how diehard and passionate I am about the IBCP, but the Year 11s can tell you. And I know I've already been in touch with a few of you about some of the option evenings we've got coming up, which I'll talk about in a second as well. So in terms of structure, as Helen's spoken at length about, we have the BTEC course, which is kind of the foundation of the career-related programme. And that's what gives the students the large grounding of their course in terms of hours and content. So there's some options there. We've got digital design, which we brought in last year. Many students have done digital design from year 7 through to year 11 with Miss Welsh, and that's proven to be a popular subject this year. A lot of creative things going on. Business studies, always the #1 in every IB school around the world, every IBCP school. It's such a hugely popular subject as well. Sport, you know, I'm sure you saw the news about how Wiz was champions at the rugby for the school's 7s tournament. So again, it proves to be a really popular option with the sports science. And we've got a fantastic engineering department as well, run by Dave Hopley, who produces some outstanding work there. I'm not going to go too much about results, but really the CP students last year, I was so proud of their performance. They're averaging double distinction stars, over 70% of the cohort, which is just incredible results. And I think that the advantage of the BTEC pathway, where there isn't the final examinations and students approaching their work in this different way of pushing themselves, meeting deadlines, and having the opportunity to become really reflective learners, much like they will in the world of work, had an impact on their IB results as well. Because we saw as well that the students who did the IBCP performed really well in their IB subjects, well above the world average across the board in everything they undertook. So we're really proud of what the IBCP students did last year. Onto the IB side of things, the students have the option of undertaking 2 or 3 IB subjects. So that huge list that we saw earlier, the students can still follow that passion they might have in music, theatre, you know, economics, and any subject that's available, they can undertake that alongside the BTEC course of study. We do like 2 of these subjects to be done at higher level, just to make sure that that university offer is really strong and really robust. It's complemented by a core personal and professional skills. The students learn things about career planning, working on things like show reels if they're doing something practical based, or working on CVs, financial management, that kind of thing. Service learning, a huge thing at West Island School, and I know you're all familiar with how much we do there, as well as language development and the reflective project. It's a really well-balanced course. You know, I can only speak for myself and what I was like at school. I would have loved the opportunity to take a course like that, and just really happy to see it moving in a positive direction here at West Island School in its 4th year of delivery now, and really growing, and the students getting that kind of hype around it. And we hope that that's shared with yourselves at home. We also work with some ESF partners. Now, these are exclusive partnerships with some really well-known established institutions, and they're split in 2 ways. We have online courses. So there's SUMAS there, which is Sustainability Management School, which run a course on management and sustainability. We have a sport management course through the Federation University of Australia. Embry-Riddle does a course in aeronautics and aviation maintenance. So we do have students at the moment who are on this course who are dreaming of taking to the skies in one way or another, whether it's kind of building the plane or being in the cockpit. And Embry-Riddle has a huge campus over in America. I think in Florida, they've got an absolutely huge campus, and that opens up. SCAD, which is the Savannah College of Art and Design, there's been a lot of interest this year, especially with some of our art students. They had a talk from a representative who I think must have done a good sales job, because I've been having year 11s grab me in the corridor and asking me questions about that, and likewise the Australian Guild of Music as well. So these courses are run online, and I think that maybe does represent a bit of fear. I can only speak from experience that in the past 6 months, certainly, ESF have become massively hands-on with these organisers, and there's been a real renewed push to make sure that we are happy with not only the quality of provision, but also the structure of the online learning, to make sure that our students are getting the support they need. We often supplement this by giving the students timetable time within their day at West Island School to work on these subjects as well. We don't view it as you're working on this, off you go. It's a key part of the curriculum which they'll be doing with us, and the students are supported through staff on site here and through contacts we have with the companies and agencies. But if in-person is your thing, then the students can undertake a course of musical theatre at the Hong Kong Academy of Performing Arts. This has been very popular. I don't think it'd be one for me in terms of the dance approach of musical theatre, I have to be honest, but the students who are undertaking that course are absolutely flying. It's actually a BTEC course they run there, and the students have really enjoyed it. So much fantastic things going on. And the Hotel and Tourism Institute and the ICI, the International Culinary Institute, which is just around the corner from the school in Pokfulam, does an incredible course on hospitality and catering. The building you can see there is absolutely spectacular. The students there, they learn all about the hospitality industry. They've got a mock hotel in there, which they start work with, and then they move into the kitchen, which it's about 10 kitchens in there as well. So it's really fantastic place to go and have a tour. And we've also got a partnership with BSD, which is digital skills. So things like programming, data visualization, marketing and design. I have sent information around about a series of open evenings, predominantly on Zoom, which you can attend and sign up for. Those links have been sent around. And I know I've had a couple of you sign up for the visit for the ICI, which is taking place on the 28th. I have managed to have that visit time pushed back to 3:30 from 3 p.m. as originally advertised, just to facilitate students who are doing their mock examinations. If you think that is something which the students may be interested in, I strongly advise you to go and have a look. I have been told you'll be given chef whites when you get there. So worst case scenario, you might be whipping up something nice for the dinner between yourself and the student. But I would strongly advise taking a look at any of these companies and just reach out to me if you want me to make further contact for you. And so in terms of our checklist for the IBCP, and I can't reiterate enough that just echoing the points that were made by Helen earlier about thinking about what works for you as a young person, and for your child when it comes to subject choices. What is your passion? With subjects you're passionate about, I'm personally a firm believer that everything will take care of itself, and the students perform excellently. We know they perform excellently when they're at this school due to the quality of teaching and provision which we apply, but a large part of that is the students' desire and taking lessons where they're walking in with a smile on their face, and what's right for one person may not be right for the next person, and that's okay. So have that tick box. Is this a subject I want to do, something I'm keen to learn more of, or even take for the first time? It's not a problem. 2 or 3 IB subjects. So think about things you've enjoyed in the lower school, what's gone well, what's something where the student has a real passion for it and interest, and get those ticked in the box as well. And then let's pick out some HL subjects where we can really push ourselves. We also have some additional routes as well outside of the IBCP. So we have a route which is called the International diploma, and we also have an extended engineering pathway, again, very popular. So the international diploma route is a bit different in the sense that it is a purely BTEC route. So the students actually take 2 subjects. They will do one at a level which is the equivalent of 1 A level, and the other at the next level, the diploma, which would be the equivalent of 2 A levels. So the students are leaving essentially with a triple qualification. So you've got your sub-diploma and your diploma there. And then they can also take some additional IB courses if they want to, and if time permits, they do have the option. We have students this year who are doing 2 BTECs and English. It's been quite a popular subject to go alongside it. And we also offer an extended project qualification, which is recognised by UCAS as a further qualification as well. So this is perfect for those students who have that real passion for vocational learning, who really responds to that way of tuition, who let's take them out of that, you know, the running of the exams, because we know it can be hard, especially when 2 years of your life, 7 years of your life depends on what you write down in 90 minutes. Is that always the best reflection of a learner? Not necessarily, in my opinion, but I guess that's why I talk about BTEC, because it's something that I'm very, very passionate about. And so this program really works for those learners. Again, they've performed really well on this course, and it's been a real measure of success as well. So it's another option for students there that they can really choose their own curriculum. So much like that, we're looking at picking the two subjects, 2 BTECs, the diploma, which would be the predominant sort of qualification and the most of your time, and then the sub-diploma as well, which would be half the contact time diploma, up to 2 IB subjects, any level, higher or standard, it's fine, because with the BTECs alone bring up a really strong offer, and then the option to do the EPQ, the extended project qualification as well. And finally, we have our engineering pathway. So I'm sure when you've been, well, finally able to come to the school last week or the week before, wasn't it? So I'm sure you've seen the incredible workshop that we have. And it's no surprise that we have a really strong department delivering an engineering course as a result of that. So this pathway, the students undertake an extended diploma. So it's a triple qualification, and that's done in engineering. Dave Hopley runs that alongside. He gets a bit of help from maths and science, because the students would typically undertake both maths and physics, normally at higher level, but standard level is not an issue, just because that gives you a really strong profile in terms of going on for engineering. I think, and it's fair to say that this is probably the only pathway that we offer where we really want the students to have that 100% clear goal of getting into engineering. It's very rare that a student would take this course and not go on to study engineering at the next level, because it is so set up for entering that industry, either going straight into work, into an apprenticeship, or onto a university. There's fantastic results have come out of there. The students have been going to universities all over the world as a result of this. Industry links have been really, really commonplace. Obviously, we're now in the process of rebuilding those links, thanks to the disruption of the last couple of years. But there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes there to make sure that next year the students are getting these opportunities to actually go in, visit industries. And in the meantime, there's been plenty of talks from professionals, and the students are actually working to real life design briefs. You know, they're working with professional companies who are presenting them with a problem which the teachers are giving them as an assignment. So it's a real unique way of working, and it's proven to be a real success for students.
Tim, just before I move the slides on, I'm just going to say to people, if you do have some questions, because this is our last pathway, Tim's just going to round this one off in a minute. If you want to put any last questions in at the bottom, now would be a good time to start doing that. Thank you.
So as I said, just that is a real specialist pathway in engineering. So if we do have the students out there, which we have every year, who've maybe done engineering in the lower school, or just have that passion, maybe there's family links, etc., working in that sector, then this is a really, really strong course. And as I said, it's proven to be very successful. But as always, any questions, if we want to arrange for you to come and have a look around, I can also put you in contact with the course leader as well, who can speak to you about it. Just get in touch. So our final checklist, quite a straightforward one, this one, isn't it? Do we want to head for the engineering diploma? Absolutely. And then let's have a bash at maths and physics. But if there's other IB options there, let us know and we can discuss whether that would be a good match. So I think, thanks for your time, and back to Sara, I think. Thank you.
So we decided, because it's obviously a really, really difficult time for the students to kind of make these big decisions about which subjects they want to take. So we asked the teachers at West Island to just give us a few tips on how they made decisions, really, and sort of advice that they would give. And you can see those on the screen in front of you. But I think key ones are perhaps thinking about countries that you want to study in. It's always good to just, I know that the year 11s are seeing the careers higher education counsellors at the moment, but do pop in, encourage the students to pop in, or you can even email as parents and ask for a little bit of information. So think about that final destination, speak to the teachers, speak to the people that know your strengths, and get them to kind of give their advice. Would I be a good fit for chemistry? Ask your chemistry teacher. And also kind of don't be influenced. Just basically, you can't tell what the timetable is going to look like. You can't tell that your friends will be doing something the same time as you are. It's all about your pathway. So think about what your goal is and what your strengths are when you are picking those subjects, and be open-minded. It's so exciting. It's such an exciting time. Things are going to look very, very different from the courses that you've studied at GCSE, or that students have studied at GCSE, and it's really a time for kind of being open to new challenges. I did talk about this a little bit earlier, but once you do go onto that post-16 options page, that's obviously your step to key in what your children want to do post-16. There is that little box, that drop-down box, which says kind of any additional notes. And if you are not sure about anything, make sure that you sort of put something in that box, and then we can follow up with you. Make sure you look at the blocking, make sure that kind of, again, you look back at the courses, and any questions you've got, I know that you'll be provided with our emails at the end. You can reach out and ask any extra questions that might come to you after tonight's webinar.
Thanks, Sara. So when we share the slides, but I think all the students know how to do this because the year 11 tutor team went through how to actually make the selection process, but there is information on the website about how to do it and how to follow it through, and there's a hyperlink from this presentation as well. As Sara said, if you do want to contact any of us, you're most welcome to do so. These are probably the key people that you might need to contact, and the higher education team that you may not have met as parents yet, but you will definitely be coming more and more into contact with as this year goes on, and then over into year 12 and 13. It's arranged by dynasty, so you can see the dynasties that are allocated to each HE counsellor there. So if you do have a question, feel free to email them. I will just say at the moment they are super busy with the year 13 applications, so if you don't get an immediate response, please just bear with them, because we're just trying to get all the year 13 university applications finalised at the moment. So that is it from us in terms of presentation. I will hand back to Chris.
Round of applause, Helen, Sara and Tim, thank you so much. All of the team, you're welcome to come back on again, and we'll try and maybe just wrap this up with a few live answers. Just to clarify, if you could stop sharing, that's great. Just to clarify, there are three main pathways through our curriculum post-16. There is the IBDP, the diploma programme. There is the IB Careers programme. And in the IB Careers programme, you are either taking a combination of BTECs and some courses from the diploma programme. So it is perfectly possible that you could choose the extended engineering BTEC and choose history and a language, but that would be called the IB Careers programme. More typically, students might choose on that careers programme. Hello, Bella, again, nice to see you. More typically on that programme, students might choose a combination such as business, a PE, BTEC courses, and then they might choose, for example, geography, because that really interests them, and it might be that they also choose, I don't know, English, for example, or maths, and they combine that together to call that careers programme. The next pathway which we can offer is something called the engineering pathway. It's actually still accredited as an IBCP, but it's very specific, and it came about from a visit from Singapore University about 6 years ago. When they approached West Island, they said, we haven't got students that still want to come into this engineering, and the world still needs to make things. So we knew there were some students that it would be that wanted to go into this physical engineering environment. So the whole program is a BTEC in engineering plus maths plus physics. So everything is designed to prepare you for that post-16 study in engineering. If you have got any questions, Helen is your first port of call, and Sara for the diploma programme. They can also ask questions, answer questions around the careers programme. Tim has specific responsibility for that. He can talk to you about its acceptability in countries other than the UK, its acceptability in UK universities, and he can talk about combinations on there as well. And Jayne can also talk to that as well. There are no live Q&A answers still. I can see that the team have been busy in the background. So because I can see our children now getting onto our host laps because it's dinner time or bedtime, I'm going to let you lovely people go in shortly. But final pieces of advice. Mike, you've got your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add in there, the best thing you can do tonight, tomorrow, get on that system, start making the option choices, because you can change them as much time as you like before the deadline. But it's important you start understanding the system, understanding the combinations that are possible. That will enable you to ask the correct question. So get on the system as soon as you possibly can.
Wonderful, thank you, Mike. Jayne, what's your final piece of advice, do you think, for parents?
The one thing I will say is I've had a few students come to me and say, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to study in the future. I don't know if I want to go to university. I don't know what to want to study at university. And so sometimes not having that information can make options feel even more difficult. So I would just remind you to go back to what you enjoy, go back to those subjects that you are good at, and which subjects are going to help you to be more successful. And then you can figure out the rest of the journey later.
Jayne, what did you do a degree in?
I did a dance degree at university, but when it came to choosing my A-levels, I had no idea what I wanted to be in the future. So I went for subjects that I was good at and subjects that I enjoyed. So I did Spanish, psychology, dance and performing arts. So I stuck to my strengths and stuck to my interests, and then figured the rest out, and still kind of figuring out as well.
Later in life, you identified where you wanted to be. Sara,
Exactly.
What's your degree in?
Well, I think it's changed now, but I did English literature, which I think has to be sort of world literature now. But yeah, I just sort of, I really didn't know what to do. And I just picked a subject that my teachers said that they thought I should study. But actually, I really, really enjoyed it. And now I've never left school.
So you took your teacher's advice. Your teachers knew you well, actually. They guided you to the courses that they knew you were interested in. As you know, my daughter did an English literature degree, had no idea what she wanted to do. She's now a wedding planner, absolutely loves it. You know, and very successful at it. My son did a degree in marketing and business and is now in the police as a detective. So, you know, the only thing that matters, if you don't know very strongly where you're going to go, do the thing you're most interested in now. Claire, final bit of advice, having guided your son through this process.
I just think leading up to choosing your options, just enjoy the process and building some time to talk to teachers and read that material on the website. It's excellent. It really is. I think everyone else has said everything about choice and interest.
Great. Tim, for you, final bit of advice?
Yeah, I think just do what makes you happy. I mean, I won't go into the full story of my sixth form, but I picked sixth form subjects which I did well at GCSE. And long story short, 1 year later, when the AS results came out, it was a total disaster because I wasn't interested. With the greatest of respect to geography and IT, they weren't for me at that post-16 level. So I went back. The school supported me to stay on, and I ended up taking film for a year, carried on with media and psychology, picked up another subject, and then that's what has led me to where I am now. And I think that maybe if I could go back, I probably would have benefited from doing something a bit more vocational, or certainly the conversation should have been, what do you enjoy? What do I want to do? And I think that would be my advice. Do what makes you happy, because if you're happy, then the rest tends to take care of itself.
Great. Okay. And Helen, I'd really like to give Bella the last say, but I'm hesitant because it could all go wrong. But yeah, Helen, what's your last piece of advice, having been in charge of this process for many years, and also after the choices have been made, common things? What's the one thing you'd really like parents to hold in their heart as they're supporting their kids through this?
So I think just listen to what your son or daughter wants and what their passions are, and support those passions, because that is where happiness lies, and that is where success lies, really. And it's not set in stone either. So when you put these options in, there are opportunities to change them. We will meet with the students again with the HE team in about March, so just before the Easter holidays, and have a look and see, okay, you're still thinking the same sorts of things. We'll touch base with them again once they get their GCSE results, because that might mean they want to change some things as well. So we do try and be flexible, so don't feel like everything is set in stone. There is some flexibility there, but we just can't promise. So if a subject hasn't been able to be offered because not enough people select it at this point, we can't then put it back on because students change their minds later. So that is the only real caveat.
And what I would say is, I'm always stunned when people leave West Island School, because our teachers just do an amazing job post-16. We are in the top 1% of IB schools worldwide. 7 years ago, we were in the top 11%, which was still amazing, okay? But the top 1%, the quality of teaching and learning, the individual advice and guidance that people get, the wider experiences that our kids get in front of our students, sets them up for life, whether it's the diploma programme, the careers programme, or whether children are just taking standalone BTEC subjects. I couldn't thank my team enough. I hold them in such high regard. So thank you very much for being here this evening. Parents, students, if we haven't answered your questions, that's what your tutor's for. You can approach your subject teachers, you can email teachers, you can go to Jayne, Tim, Miss Haworth, Mr. Williams, Mr. Devine-Costa, anybody as you do this research. And the website is the most fantastic resource that you can have to help you as well. Would Bella like to say a final wave and goodbye?
Bye.
Bye, Bella. Thanks for this evening. Night, night. See you, everybody. Take care. Thank you. Bye.